Hello everyone, welcome to Scorcher Toys at AnyMoon.com's review of Yamato's V2 mass production toys. Specifically, we're going to talk about the differences between the Do You Remember Love, TV, and VF-1J versions of the toy. To begin with, we're going to dispel a rumor. Ben Dixon from Robotech, Kakazaki from Metcross, did not fly a cannon fodder vehicle, the other name for mass production toys. His vehicle was white with brown trim in the television program. You could see the other toys all brown throughout with white trim. His vehicle is white with brown trim. That should be the end of that part of the discussion. Let's take a closer look at the toys. Yamato released the Kakazaki VF-1A TV version in May 2009. The next month they gave us the VF-1J mass production type, and then again the following month gave us the VF-1A TV mass production type. All those toys retailed for 9,800 yen. It would be 3 years before Yamato would revisit the mass production type with the VF-1A Do You Remember Love type in July of 2012. That toy cost a little over 10,000 yen, which probably just reflects an increase in taxes. All of these toys come with 4 sets of box-style missiles, 4 sets of missiles on a tree, a pilot figure, 2 display stand adapters, 1 nose cone adapter, and a gun. TV-style releases, being the TV VF-1A and the VF-1J mass production, come with 4 fixed-posed hands. The Do You Remember Love style version comes with only 2 fixed-posed hands, but since it was a later release, it does come with the option parts for Batroid mode, being side covers, a neck cover, and a seat. Instructions and stickers are always on the bottom of the tray. Yamato's first V2 VF1 toys featured a rainbow canopy and a very thin crotch lock mechanism. Later releases feature a clear canopy and a wider crotch lock mechanism. The wider mechanism just made it easier to transform the toy. There's no visual detriment, so it kind of seemed like a slam dunk. And it's also more similar to the Yamato 148 version, which people were already used to handling. You can tell that I have a later VF-1A TV version than the one that was released in July of 2009 because there's no rainbow canopy, so this is a reissue version of the toy. TV style, Do You Remember Love style. TV bright white, Do You Remember Love off-white. There's some good tampo printing on these toys. Both of them have the same ejection marker, UN Spacey kites, warnings. There's even an uncommon tampo here on the leg. So all of that looks good. Really, it's the color difference, the cream versus the white, that differentiates these two toys other than the heads. And of course the pilot figures. You can open up the canopy, pull out the pilot figure. The Do You Remember Love pilot figure, brown trim, pointy helmet, TV style, there you go, rounded, green. So obviously very different pilot figures. The TV style also had a little bit additional tampo printing that didn't make it to the Do You Remember Love version, and that was this Prometheus marking by the tail fin, so that was neat to see. Otherwise the same. You didn't get all of those tampo printing on every Yamato toy. Here you can see Kakazaki again. No red square. I think it's a compressor warning on the leg. And then here we have a reissue Hikaru and no ejection warning up by the nose. Arcadia also does not include the ejection warning on any of their toys, even though Yamato did on their Fokker releases. The undisputed king of Yamato's tampo printing efforts was the VF-1J mass production toy. As well as all the markings we talked about before, other than the Prometheus marking, you get the following extra ones. One here, we'll call this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and that compressor warning is now red and white instead of just red. So that's a whole lot of beautiful painted on detail that you won't find on any other V2 VF1 toy. I'm assuming you're familiar with the Yamato V2 toy in this review, but I'll do a quick rundown of the features anyways. There are removable intake covers that are clearly already removed here. There's an articulated tow bar and a integrated landing gear with rubber tires. Let's just go ahead and park that away. We're going to go ahead and move on to gear walk mode as well. There are hard points on the wing. They have a little twist mechanism. They stay on generally very well. They will not be coming back in this review. 3-door landing gears in the rear with a locking mechanism. Again, rubber, they actually roll. So that's all good. You can fit the gun on in fighter mode. The gun collapses nicely. And for gear walk mode, we'll extend like so. There you go. There's no air brake. There's a couple of things you might remember from the Yamato 148 toys are gone, but it is sharp. It is super solid, holds together great, looks great, functions well. Let's move on to gear walk. I have a separate transformation video I definitely encourage you to check out. I have also reviewed these toys numerous times, so I'll just keep it short here. Gear walk mode is fantastic, holds together really well, gives you lots of articulation options. Doesn't have an antenna, neither integrated nor as an accessory, but I don't think it'll really bring you down. I mentioned the creamy white of the Do You Remember Love. I didn't mention the chocolatey brown of the TV version, so chocolatey brown feet, these backs of the knees, above the intakes themselves, even on the back of the fists here, which you could spin out, all chocolatey brown. On the Do You Remember Love version, those parts are all dark gray. So there is a visual distinction between the two besides the creamy white. We're going to have to move on to Batroid and take a look at the head to see the rest. Before we move on, I mentioned some accessory hands that come with these toys. The TV versions are nice rounded. The Do You Remember Love versions are kind of squared off and pointy. To install any of these hands, you just pull forward and grab a gun. If you're doing one of these gun hands, put it in there and peg, slot. There you go. That's all it takes. They do spruce up the toy, even though the included hands aren't too bad. The accessory hands are a nice touch. I mentioned that the Do You Remember Love release was a late release and came with option parts. This is an example of a side cavity filler. You would just plug that in the side. So then this gaping hole on the side would be filled up with something like this. So I guess that's a benefit. I don't really like them. They're not integral to the toy. So I would really just not use them generally. There's a neck cavity filler. You could pop that out and instead put on this seat and then put the pilot in the seat, and it makes him look like, you know, he's coming up out of the head region like we saw in the one episode of SDF Macross. So those are your option parts. Take them or leave them. You do not get them with the TV toys. I mentioned the fixed post hands earlier. What I didn't mention was a little quibble. The Do You Remember Love style hand has a peg inside of it that really grips this gun. So it could point down, point up. It's really good. The TV style hand does not have a peg inside of it for the grip. So it just comes in and out very easily. And if you point the gun down, the weight of the gun will droop. So you're going to need to use the other hand to hold it up or put the gun in an upright position. The big difference between the TV version and the Do You Remember version of the VF-1A is the head visor. So there you can see it's got an extension to the lens on the Do You Remember Love version. No extension, just goes straight to the lens on the TV version. I'm not going to go through articulation in this review. I've done it several times. I'll just hit some highlights. Head goes up and down, left and right, but it's not a ball joint. There's no waist joint. There are double jointed elbows that get more than 90 degrees. Nice twists at the knee. Basically, you have all of the articulation that you really could want, short of a non-transformable VF-1 toy, which would add something like an ab crunch and some other silly stuff you just can't get in a perfect transformation toy as of yet. So currently the high mark in collector's size, this is about 21 centimeters tall. VF-1s, the Yamato V2 are now the Arcadia toy. I highly recommend them. You should probably get yourself a squadron of mass production toys because they're that cool. Check out the full article on Any Moon, and thanks for watching.